Hey y'all, Mike with Cardboard Kingdom. Welcome back to another Disney Lorcana video. We are hot off the press of the bans. Market is going crazy. We are seeing hundreds and hundreds of copies of cards sell just literally in the last 12 to 24 hours. Absolutely crazy. So we're going to go over most of them today. If I missed any, please put them in the comments. And then we'll end with some really good communication, I feel like, from Ravensburger. It's just some, give them some kudos to end this video. So with that being said, Hiram and items are out. Discard is back. I don't know about you guys, but as a more casual player, give me Hiram and items. You can counter it with things like Benja, or I find on my Platinum. It just, as a casual, much more enjoyable experience going against Hiram than the bird. But what do I know? I'm just a filthy casual. Diablo absolutely ripping off the news of the price. This card was available for $19 not that long ago. Currently up almost to $50 for the card. So shout out to some of these people like MPLS Card Exchange sitting on a little stack there. Maybe they were picking them up at at $20, and here we are. And we're back in the birds world, man. I've been loving all the memes on Twitter. Those have been absolutely hilarious. I will say that the cold foil of this card has not moved much at all. Pretty much the same version as the non-foil. So I would say if you are in the market for some Diablos, go out and pick up a few cold foils, because there's a good chance we do see this one run up. Now, the thing holding this back and why it hasn't seen a tremendous jump yet is because there is an enchanted version of the card, which always causes the cold foil to really lag behind in terms of price action. But you can see the massive amount of sales that have happened here over the last couple of days for Diablo. I will say it is interesting to see, there was literally no action on this card, very slim to none. And then just right to the lead up of the ban, we had 21 Enchanted sold, which is interesting. And then you had 33 right off the back of it. You can see here 150, 160, kind of the new floor for the bird. It was readily available. It goes through kind of these cycles. So it was up at 300 on release, dropped down to 150 range, got back up to 200, dropped back down to 130, 120 range, and now it's ripping right back up to 150, 160. So I think that this card probably can top out closer to 180 to 200, depending on how much Diablo dominates the market. But it is official. We are back in discard meta. I hope you didn't enjoy playing your cards, because they are now in your discard and you didn't even get to play them. Next up, Doc, Bold Knight, a discard package that now that Hiram and Fortisphere are removed, Doc is going to step up to be really the next best option in terms of draw. I know there's some other things like Monsieur D'Arc and Judy Hopps and things like that to still get some draw power in blue. I think all that'll be flushed out. I think that the blue is going to come out relatively not unscathed, but people will find a way. It's still a very good color, and it will still surely have an impact. I firmly believe that. Doc's floor is now at $11. When you look at Doc's graph, it was cheap as 57 cents. 57 cents for this card. It is now an $11 card. Man, these people who picked up, this was on release. Obviously, people were just buying them for their decks for the most part, but what a play by them. They're $11 for a regular listing. For a cold foil. Why can't I do cold foil? I'm already on cold foil? No, what the heck? Printing normal. I don't want normal. I want cold foil. I want the shiny stuff. Let's see here. Clear filters. Printing. Alright. What's going on? Is there no cold foil Doc is all sold out? There's none available? There we go. Only 5 on the market. Moderately played for 33. Light played for 37. Near mint for 40. And there is not that many of them. So, man, look, I'm going to go out on a limb and say not to buy a cold foil Doc at 40, but you do you. There has, surely been a ton of sales here just even today. 14, 23, both sold this morning. And then yesterday, you can see the price action on 4.8 just go absolutely insane. Same goes for the regular version, obviously. So I would say if you're looking for cold foil, look on eBay, give it some time. You kind of missed the boat there. And then the regular card up to $11. You can see how many were bought and sold yesterday. 179. It's like we got a whole new meta overnight. Absolutely crazy. Next up, we have Pete, Games Referee. This one hasn't seen as much of an uptick. I almost didn't include it, but I think it is worthwhile. It is definitely kind of hitting all-time highs, right? There were 84 copies sold yesterday, sitting around roughly, $3 whenever you count shipping included with the lowest listing. Definitely the highest it's been. Expected to continue to rip with decks like Repeat and things like that coming more into play. Pete's going to be a very, very good card. Obviously, really everything gets a bump whenever a highly defining meta deck like Blue Steel gets essentially erased from the map. Everything else gets better, right? And so that's why people were commenting like, oh, these cards aren't that valuable, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Well, sure, like Hiram and Fortisphere aren't, but every other card is, right? A lot of other cards are, and so it's going to cause a shakeup to all of those cards. So things even like Daisy had 77 sales yesterday, and look, I mean, lowest verified for light played is with shipping that was like $10 essentially. Lowest on the market for a verified near mint Daisy is $10. And the thing is, guys, once these you got to think it has 77 sales at the floor. Once that floor kind of dries up and all the high listings are gone, like these cards start to rip very fast. You see that with Doc, it had 179 sales yesterday. Therefore, it's now a $12 card when a couple months ago it was a 57-cent card. And so massive price swings have to happen like this in the beginning, where you see a massive wave of people coming onto the card. So $10 floor for Daisy, which is getting right back up there. This card was down around $5 for a while, and it is really starting to pop again. Bottomed out at cheap as $3, which is wild. Now, once again, a $10 card, and this, I'll take a pit stop here for a bigger point. It pays to just. There's so much money to be made in Lorcana if you know the meta and you can predict to a reasonable degree. Obviously, nothing is guaranteed, but if you have a general sense, and I don't think you could know that the ban was coming for Hiram. I think that a reasonable person maybe could have made a play because there was an errata change on the official Disney Lorcana app it's probably like 2 months ago now, where errata Hiram to only be able to banish an item to draw one card rather than two. And they said like, oh no, that's not going into place, but like maybe you could get a sense that they were toying with it. And so then you could like kind of make some reasonable assumptions based off the fact of that. Maybe just load up on discard cards for the last couple months, and then you'd be sitting pretty right now. But it pays to know the meta. Once again, I mean, I talk about it a lot, and he probably wants me to shut up. But like Luke Wonderful, one of the top players, he showed me on a Pixelborn game one time. He thought the Doc was incredibly underrated, and he showed me stacks and stacks of the card that he bought. He had hundreds of copies, and he was buying it when it was free, right? And he just knew that it was a really good card and it would probably have a play in the meta. And then here we are at an $11 card. Like, I mean, if you can, if you think cards are undervalued and you have a good read on the meta, there's an insane amount of money to be made and arbitrage in situations like this. Moving over to Beast Tragic Hero, Rise of the Floodborn. 69 sales here yesterday, so really starting to run. Anytime we get a meta where discard is popular, the Beast is always included because he goes off the back of Morph. And so we're at $25 floor right now for a regular copy. If you're going to get a near mint verified, you're looking at 27. You hop over to the or not near mint. Well, yeah, whatever. We'll just go cold foil for now. Hop over to cold foil, and you're looking at a $54 card for a near mint copy. And, I would not be surprised if we see this get back up to closer to a $60 to $70 card. Keep in mind, guys, that this is from Rise of the Floodborn. Rise of the Floodborn itself is a very underprinted set when you compare it to things like Inklings or the first chapter, Ursula's Return. So cards that are in this set have a lot more likelihood to run. You can see there was even some Japanese Cold Foil Beast sold for $40 for near mint, which is right in line with the English copy, really. So even, once again, and this goes back to my thesis for playable cards, if you're not around in the beginning of Lorcana, I think opening Japanese makes a ton of sense, because some of those big hits are commanding a decent value. You can obviously get some Enchanteds, which aren't going to be worth as much, but the cards themselves, the playable copies, since all languages are tournament legal, they're not seeing that much of a discount off their English counterparts. And plus, some people, like Japanese culture is big here too, right? So some people just prefer the Japanese. So Beast Tragic Hero up to 53, 54 for a cold foil is sitting at 25 for a near mint copy. But once again, keep in mind, guys, we've really gone through a ton of listings here as of late. 100 copies have been bought just in the last couple days. So these verified listings are really starting to dry up. Once again, 27 is the lowest on the first page, and then for a near mint, you're getting really close to 30 on the second page. So just keep that in mind. And it's really a good, when you look at things like, or even Ursula, Deceiver, and etc., like all these cards, if it's green, it's going to go pretty much. I guess we'll come back to Rapunzel, but even off the back of Beast, a card that always sees a lot of improvement whenever discard is relevant is Morph Space Goo. I pulled up the Enchanted here because I think the Enchanted is very fairly priced. I personally will not be playing this card. I personally don't like the art on this card. I've never been a fan of it, but in terms of just pure money to be made, this is one that definitely can see higher highs in a discard meta. You can see it was selling for $170 back in April of 2024. Then here just recently towards the end of last year was selling for $160, currently at $110. Once again, a card that you're going to be able to use for things like Clarabelle, for things like Beast, to shift onto. It's Enchanted, right? And so therefore it's gonna command a premium. But I think that this is an Enchanted right now that's probably a little bit undervalued. And 2 weeks from now, if you told me this is a $150, $160 card, I would not be surprised at all. So keep your eyes out on the Enchanted Morph Space Goo. All right, guys, moving over to the Clarabelle. This is currently a card that's sitting around $19, legendary for Emerald. This is more of a Emerald Sapphire style build, more so than discard, right? Her ability counteracts what discard is trying to do, but definitely one that I could see running as well. $20, $19 in terms of lowest near mint verified on the market, but it will be a $20 card very soon. You see the activity yesterday selling 57 copies in the $13 to $14 range. This card is going to continue to go. Once again, anything that's Emerald is going to be in a good spot. I think the cold foil version of this card is not too bad. Yeah, $25 all in. 25 bucks. This does have an Enchanted version of the card, which is currently sitting around 100. Once again, an Enchanted that I think is very fairly priced, and one that I could definitely see running as we get into a very Emerald style meta. Clarabelle will become a forefront of that with Emerald Sapphire. Her Enchanted looks great. Personally, just a fan of the art, so I think that that card, it got close to like 150, 160 in its heyday, currently sitting around 100. I think we could easily see it get back to the 150, 160 price range. Next up, Rapunzel Gift with Healing had 60 sales yesterday, so she's currently sitting at a $55 floor, back to close to all-time highs, I would say. Cold foil price is going to be crazy. $80 for a cold foil Rapunzel, $82.50. Lowest verified is $87. She's the queen of the first chapter. Obviously, no enchanted options, so the cold foil is going to be ripe for the picking for people who like to play their shiny copies of the cards. One of the most expensive non-enchanted card in the game, if not the most enchanted. I do unfortunately think Diablo will be up there because that stinking bird is too good. Now moving over to Maui Half Shark, another card that saw a lot of volume yesterday, 52 sales. Lowest on the market for verified is $43.25. Lowest cold foil on the market is sitting at 61. So another banger from Azurite Sea, top card from the set, and it's going to continue to do well. I do think expected value is going to continue to run rampant here on a lot of these previous sets. It's essentially like we got a new meta overnight, right? So the expected value for these sets is just going to go crazy for a lot of there's going to be a lot of movers and shakers, a lot of values coming up overall with Sapphire coming down, right? So we'll see sets that have a lot of Sapphire probably drop in expected value in terms of opening a box, and then cards that have powerful, Emerald cards really start to rise up, like Ursula's Return with Diablo, and then the Muses here. The Muses currently sitting at $1 for lowest on the market. This could be used in both Emerald Discard, Emerald Steel, Emerald Sapphire, currently sitting around all-time lows-ish. But what I will remind you here, guys, is things like Hiram was a rare that got up to $5. That card was available in starter decks. That card was everywhere. It was a rare, but it was not rare by any means, right? And therefore, when you see a rare like this for $1, this could make sense in discard. This could make sense in Emerald Sapphire. This could make sense in a lot of different builds. It's currently, sitting at $1. I think that makes a ton of sense. The cold foil sitting at $6, once again, makes a ton of sense. Lowest verified there is $8.17 for a near mint cold foil. So just trying to keep you guys, in line with, what's selling, what's moving off the back of list. 83 sales yesterday, currently sitting at $1. It bottomed out at around 19 cents back in July of last year, currently sitting at well over $1. Moving over to Ink Geyser. Ink Geyser, another card that saw a lot of sales yesterday. Not sure what's going on with the graph there. Probably just no, it actually isn't too bad. A lot more than 4 items sold yesterday. The graph's just lagging. You can see all of the sales here. Excuse me, whether it's a near mint copy, whether it is a cold foil copy. Lowest on the market right now for a near mint is about $1. When you look at cold foil, I think it's closer to $5 to $6. Yep. $5 to $6 range for a verified cold foil for the Ink Geyser. So another one that will continue to run due to the increase in Sapphire. A card that Emerald rather. A card that I think that is just wildly underpriced right now is the Bend to My Will. Each opponent discards all cards in their hand. When I think about like multiplayer or like a 1v1v1v1 style format, when it says each opponent, like this is a card that like why isn't this card like a $20 card? Like just makes no sense to me. Currently available for 29 cents. This might be available in a starter deck. It is way too cheap if not. But yeah, 29 cents lowest on the market, lowest verified 40 cents. We look at the cold foil printing of this card, you're sitting at $6. So very, very underpriced in my opinion. Could definitely see some upticks here as we get up to speed. And then last but not least, Genie, Wish Fulfilled. A lot of sales yesterday, decent amount of sales just consistently. Keep in mind, guys, this card was pretty much a $20 card at one point. It had 366 items sold at $18 a pop back in December. It then had a very poor performance at the Last Chance event as well as the NA Championships. And then it's starting to rise back up, a card that could definitely see some increased value with Sapphire Steel out of the meta for a good portion of it, and decks not having as much of a solution in some cases. Everything gets a bump when that gets erased, and so Genie being no slouch. Once again, it was a $20 card at one point. We could definitely see it get back there. Lowest verified on the market for a near mint is about $10. And then once again, cold foil is about 17, 18. So definitely, the cold foil is definitely not slept on. But back in the heyday when the regular cards were 20, cold foil is close to 40, right? So keep that in mind. Definitely a deal if you're running back to Ruby Amethyst off the back of this news. So next up, guys, I do want to call out a communication, like I mentioned, from the official Ravensburger Discord. We have Rob Greg Tito here. He's in charge of comms, it sounds like. He was a very recent hire. He said, I thought it'd be good to jump in to address your thoughts. I'm still getting up to speed here at Ravensburger as the director of comms. This is only week 5 for me, but we are laying a ton of plans to ramp up more frequent and substantial communication with you all. I can't share the details just yet, but the goal is for us to participate in a dialogue. Expect more live streams, more showcasing of community creativity, and more back and forth. And this was in response to someone asking, hey, if you've been watching, you must see the lack of communication is very problematic, sudden bans, etc. And that was his response. So just look, guys, we've known that they're growing the team. And the fact that, once again, you think about, they came out in late 2023 with the first chapter. It was a massive success, and they really had to ramp things up from there. They've released all sorts of different sets, all sorts of different products, promos, done all sorts of different events all across the world. They've expanded the game worldwide. This stuff doesn't happen overnight, and this is the first trading card game they've truly done. While they have some industry experience, bring on a lot of people from Wizards. I think Greg was even at Wizards for a while. They have a lot of experience, and they know what they're doing. But Ravensburger, as a company, they're new to the trading card game industry, and that's going to come with bumps. That's going to come with bumps and bruises. I think that they've done a fantastic job thus far, and I seriously think, and I hope that once Greg gets up to speed here, we get some of those Worlds announcements. We get more consistent live streams and feedback. That's the train. There's no stopping it at that point. That's kind of the final piece to the puzzle, in my opinion. And then this, we never look back. So times like this, it's always fun whenever there's a ton of volatility. I know there's a lot of people mad about how they did the announcements. I personally think that stuff is like people would, I swear, some of these guys who grind TCGs, no offense, but you guys would bitch if your ice cream was cold. I get such bad, as someone who I was raised to look, excuses, everybody's got one and they're good for nothing. I am much more just a get stuff done type of person rather than sit there and complain about it. People are mad that this stuff came out of nowhere and they just announced the ban and it's effective immediately. Well, yeah, it's effective immediately for Lorcana sanctioned events, but there's none of those right now. So if you're going to a tournament this weekend, that's on the tournament organizer to either decide to implement this or not. Maybe they get a poll from the community, they decide what's best for their community, right? Maybe people have decks built for this weekend for tournaments, and so maybe you delay the implementation a week or two and you just stay in the existing meta. That's an option, right? This is immediate release for Disney sanctioned events. There's none, right? So there will be plenty of time for people to get ready for things like set champs or things like DLC events or worlds, etc. It's why? Who cares if it's immediate or if it's a week from two? The end result would be the same, right? And your tournament organizer for whatever community event you're doing this weekend can act accordingly. So just some just constant the constant bickering from the trading card game people are just the players specifically. It's you literally can't win. I do not envy Ravensburger at all for the types of personalities they have to deal with on this stuff. It is complete blasphemy in my opinion. I think they're doing a great job overall. Look, I'm still going to criticize them when things when things need criticized, like the D23 event, right? Communications overall, I've been vocal about things they've done wrong, but overall I would still give them a grade of an A. Things like making sure that LGSs are the only option for buying and selling new set releases. There's no online stores that are able to sell them even anywhere, really at all, but specifically anywhere near the release of the new sets. They're releasing pre-release events, buy a box promos. They're just absolutely crushing it, and the writing's on the wall. And I know these people get mad because communication has been bad, or these promos got released later, right? And look, I will continue to criticize them where it makes sense, but overall, they are delivering an amazing game. And for a small but mighty team, they are really putting Lorcana on the map. They've obviously done a bunch of hiring as of recent, expecting things, people like Greg to really step in and hopefully take charge, increase communications, and get a good feel for community sentiment. And then the rocket doesn't stop from there. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Longer video, but a lot to talk about. Look, we haven't seen volatility like this in, maybe Bucky bans. In terms of, the entire meta literally shifted overnight. Every deck that is not Sapphire Steel is now viable, right? So this deck that was commanding so much of the meta has been wiped off the map, right? And it'll still be good. People will find a way, But at the end of the day, it's not going to be anything like what it was prior, and that's why you see things all like the the Diablos and all of the various different cards that we talked about really start to run. I think we're going to start to see some really cool, really fun price action over the next coming days, especially as some of these floor listings got bought up. Prices are really going to start to run. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll be back with another video soon. We'll talk to you later. Goodbye.